Hello, it is Midweek Extra. We are sponsored by Reilly. More from them later. But I am joined by Mo Stewart, by Kev Reilly, and by Jimmy Carr, and Andy Heaton producing. Paddy doing the video if you're watching that. And the sun is shining in Liverpool, gents, isn't it? It is absolutely beautiful. Everyone's still smiling. Everyone's enjoying being champions. And I thought I'd do a bit of a roundup as everyone is on holiday at the moment. News is a little bit like there's a few transfer stories, but we did the gutter yesterday and covered it on Sort of Talking Reds. So I thought, as it's awards season, Mo Salah is already scooping them up. I'd do a bit of an awards. So in part 3, we're going to talk about things like moments of the season and disappointments of the season and hope for next year as well. And in part 2, we've got Keith Salmon on his book. There's something that the clock wants you to know. Keith very kindly came in the other day and it was nice to see him. But we'll start with the basics. Man of the season, Mo Stewart. No, that's my answer.
Okay. Hey. I mean, I'm not allowed to vote for myself, am I?
But that's mine. Who is your man of the season?
For me, it's really, really, really obvious. It's Wayne Lineker's latest hype man. Honestly, I mean, you have to remember where we all were about this time last year when we were all kind of dissecting Ruben Amorim's tactics and trying to convince ourselves that he might be the man to take over. And then it turns out he wasn't the man to take over, and boy, how right they were about that.
I had a Portuguese coach booked to come in to talk me through a tactics board of how he's going to play. Really nice fella. I was really looking forward to it. And then I had to ring him and go, mate, have you seen yet? It's not happening. It's not happening. One of the great lost shows. At least we didn't do it.
But like most of Liverpool's best transfers, they basically pulled a dummy on everybody. And brought this guy in. And even when he first came in, I remember having conversations with people after his first press conference, and they were all a bit like, I don't know. But like, ultimately...
Did you go to that first one?
I know, I wasn't at the first one.
Yeah.
I watched it. I watched it live, though.
Yeah.
And I thought he was all right. I thought I actually liked a lot of what he said, because he'd obviously been shown Klopp's first one. And he was just like, I'm not about soundbites. You're not going to get a soundbite out of me. I'm just here to do the job. And the thing I like the most about what Slott's done is not only has he taken Klopp's team and turned them into champions, he's taken Klopp's best line and made it even better. Because if there was doubters about the Klopp team in 2015, it wasn't really about the man, it was about the team. Whereas the doubters were about Arne Slot. And now we all believe, absolutely. And this is not just a one-off situation. This is we can be set for a long time. Because it's not just about the fact that he's taken his players and he's made them better. But the changes he's made tactically, changes he's made with some players, moving them around, giving them different jobs, the changes he's made in-game, these are the kind of things that allow you to say, okay, well, he can deal with whatever's thrown at him and keep going. So, yeah, hands down, it has to be him.
Kev, who's your man of the season?
Yeah, similarly, really obvious, but on the pitch, Mo Salah. I was worried about this season for him with all the contract noise, and for him to just turn around and basically give me the big FU and perform how he's performed very, very selflessly while scoring and assisting goal after goal after goal. I think it's phenomenal. I really enjoyed the contract announcement because he's embodied the club for so long. He's just been an idle professional, not just in terms of me as a football fan, but obviously the players look up to him so much. He's such a leader, future vice captain, I hope, and I'm just really glad with how he handled the whole thing. There's a huge argument that Verge is up there as well for me, but it's just the goals and the assists and how much that contribution has led to us being champions. I think it's just been absolutely phenomenal. The work ethic that he's got, just, in the gym constantly. I was really surprised to see the photos of him in Dubai. I was just like, why is he not in the gym? What is going on?
There's a gym in Dubai, don't worry.
Yeah. But yeah, easy for me. But when I was thinking about this, I was thinking sort of more out the box and trying to think of other people's. And I know we're not doing honourable mentions, but Mo's just talked about Arne Slot. And please don't clip this, but I think that Richard Hughes has had a really good first season, in that we don't really think about the fact that he's dealt with both of the contract renewals. He's sold 3 players for 50 million. He's brought in a goalkeeper that no one talks about, who's a really good prospect. And he signed the manager. He literally signed the manager. When he was at Bournemouth, he was scouting Feyenoord players constantly, and his scouts would come back with all these reports. Oh, this guy's amazing. This guy's amazing. And he had to say to his scouts, "Can you stop bringing me Feyenoord players? Because it's not the team, it's the manager, it's the coach."
Yeah.
And I think he deserves huge praise. I know that Michael Edwards quite rightly gets quite a lot of praise for what he's done for the football club. During the Klopp era, and he seems to have got a lot of praise. Well, he deserves a lot of praise for bringing Richard Hughes, his old mate, in. But I think that he's very calmly had a quietly good season. If we're thinking outside the box, I wouldn't put him as man of the season, but I just thought he deserved a wee mention for we are champions and we're reflecting a little bit more on the season we've had and the people who are involved. And he does deserve a mention. And he's Scottish, so I like him.
There you are. Unexpected Richard Hughes mention. Has he stole your answer, Jimmy?
He hasn't, no. It weren't Richard Hughes. I was going to say Chiesa for the song, but no, I agree with what Mo and Kev have just said on Slot and Salah, but I can't look past Alexis McAllister. He's been vital for us this season. I can't remember, apart from Gerrard, we've not really had a midfielder who's been able to grab the game by the scruff of the neck and, win us it or score us a goal or, make that progressive pass into the final third. But you look at McAllister and the games he's played in this season, he's been pivotal in every one of them. I can't pinpoint a negative thing McAllister's done this season. Everything's been positive. Every game he got at least a 7 or 8 out of 10. I always look at that Madrid game. It was 0-0, very close, and then again he was dictating the game for the majority of it. And then he comes up with that goal, and I just think he's been immense all season. That run in November we had, he was exceptional, and then I think Gravenberch, the beginning of the season, took a little bit of the limelight because of how unexpected he was, especially how poor he was the back end of last season. But McAllister's got better every game. And I look at it and go, I can't look past Alexis McAllister for player of the season. For me, he's been unbelievable.
There we go. 3 different answers. 4 if you allow...
Don't allow it.
Kev sneaking in his dad. At 1 point there. But... yeah, enjoyed that. Enjoyed it. Okay, you can go first this time, Jimmy, on a young player of the season.
Ooh, Salah, because he's not getting any older. No, do you know what? Young player of the season. Tough one, that. What are we classing as young?
22 and younger.
I think he's 23, but I'll go Gravenberch.
No, he's 22.
Is he 22? Yeah, I'll go Ryan Gravenberch then. Again, like I said, he's been exceptional, especially that beginning of the season. He turns. I didn't even think people's bones in their body could turn that way. His hips are ridiculous. Like, he can get the ball in the half turn, go back again, and then ping a ball 30, 40 yards, and we're through. I think he's ridiculous how good Gravenberch has been this season. He deserves a massive kudos this season.
Stick with Gravenberch, or are you going to go for someone else?
Nah, it's easy. It's Gravenberch. Just the amount of the contribution that he's had as well. He's not missed the game through injury, I don't think, the entire season. Anytime he's not played, he's just been rested.
Yeah.
The only time that we could really tell that we were missing the importance of him is when he was quite tired towards the end of the season, which was completely understandable considering the amount of games that he was playing. I think he's been phenomenal. As Jimmy says, his that turn is just, it's becoming a bit of a trademark for him, and it's so fun to watch every time he does it because you just can't see it happening. We're all screaming man on, and he's like, yeah, I know, it's fine.
He wants the press.
He wants the press because
it
it creates so much in front of him, and it's not just that turn. He'll often do the turn while doing the pass at the same time. He doesn't need to necessarily turn and then run into the space. His vision is absolutely impeccable. I'm a huge fan of players who come from sort of, a bit of adversity in terms of in their career. And I think there was probably a time at Bayern Munich when he was thinking, what have I done? I've left Ajax to sort of live my dream and play for this massive European club. And it didn't work out for him. And it's really satisfying to see the press come out and say, look, they're really pissed off that they've let him go. I don't know how much they signed Paulinho for. I think it was 55 million or something crazy like that. Yeah. I mean, we got him in an absolute snip. And what was interesting to me was when Jurgen Klopp was leaving, I think he was asked, who are you most excited about? And he said, Ryan Gravenberch. And I don't think he was necessarily thinking about Ryan Gravenberch as a 6. I think he was thinking of him as more of a 10 or an 8 in terms of an attacking outlet. I mean, that's what he's known for, and that's why Bayern Munich are saying we just didn't know he could do the 60 stuff. And he can do the 60 stuff, and he could do the sexy stuff, and I love him. I love him today.
Yeah, it is interesting with the Bayern thing because, we did quite a lot with Bayern journalists over the last couple of years, and obviously we played the friendly against them out in Singapore as well, so got to know a few of them, in person and things like that. And it was interesting hearing them talk about Gravenberch because they're like the sporting directors and the people, the Richard Hugheses, the real superstars of a football club, all really liked him. But then they were like, we keep swapping managers and none of them are picking him. And so it's like, well, what do you do? Do you know what I mean? Like, you can say, this guy's great, he's got great numbers, we think he's got all the attributes. But it wasn't just one manager. It was like, and the good managers, you know what I mean? Like, successive managers. And so at some point you have to go, well, none of these guys want to pick him, so maybe he's got to go somewhere else. But it wasn't, there was Ryan Gravenberch fans within Bayern Munich. They were just never picking the team.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I think that says to me how rare and how hard it is for a manager at a big club to pick young players.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Because he had basically Kimmich and Goretzka, who had been the two for a lot of years, and they were still Germany's two at that point. And so if you're a manager at a big club like that, are you going to take the risk of bringing this new kid in?
I mean, they did with Musiala, didn't they?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it's easier for attacking players, though.
Yeah.
Because it's like, part of their game is that not everything they do is going to come off, but it's just the one thing does come off, then it can change the game. Whereas, again, if you're a defensive player, the mistakes are highlighted more than the successes. So I looked at that little link that you sent just to check exactly how many players we had with 22 and under. There's like 5.
Is that a worry? Before you do is that a worry? Because I was going to do this at the end, but we'll do it now because you've brought it up. There's not many negatives from this season, but Arne Slot seems less keen on younger players. I mean, he sold a few in the summer than Jurgen Klopp does or did. Even the likes of, you look at Harvey Elliott, who's one of the ones who is 22 or under, didn't get much of a kick. You get to start eventually when the title's already won. Tyler Morton we kept around that have not played at all. McConnell really talked up, and then we sort of haven't seen much.
Same with Trainioni.
Yeah, is it? Do you think it's a shame? Do you think it's a worry? What do you think about this kind of like shift, or is it like winning league titles? And that's
I do think it's slightly a shame, but I do think it's also too early to say that this is him for sure.
Okay,
because there's two things that I would say. One, we have to remember that he didn't really get a lot of time with the team, the full team. So he obviously had worked with some of the younger players in the early parts of pre-season, but working with them individually and then seeing how they work within the main group is a different thing. And he didn't really have a lot of time to do that. So there was probably other people saying, well, we've got this deal for this person, this deal for this person, this deal for this person. Are you desperate to keep them? And he was like, no, I'm not desperate to keep them. Let them go out and play. Let them go out and get minutes, and maybe next preseason they'll come back a better player and then I can use them. So I think this preseason is going to be very pivotal for a lot of them. And to be honest, the one who did go away, Stefan Bajcetic, I think is massive for him. He might well be the yardstick of what we think, or what Slot thinks about younger players. But I think we could probably do with having some more younger players, but I also wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the players who we do buy end up being younger.
Okay. Yeah.
And for the record, I am also picking Gravenberch. I should probably just make that clear. In fact, I actually finished my Gravenberch song today. Like I've been trying to make up a song to the tune of Push It all season long, because it's like Ryan Gravenberch. I had that bit, and I just didn't have any. Yeah.
Can we get a rendition, Mo?
Oh, for fuck's sake! I guess I shouldn't have said it if I didn't want to sing. All right, okay, so give me like. He's the best midfielder, our number 38. Tuchel didn't want him, but Klopp knew he was great. When Arnie saw him, he couldn't believe his luck. Keep your Zubermendi, I couldn't give a fuck.
Hey.
Oh, yeah. That's not the end.
We just cheered and swearing.
I've got a new plan and it is going to work. Defensive midfielder, Ryan Gravenberch.
Beautiful.
Anything with a like it's a hit, isn't it, on the cup? Do you know what I mean? Like you can just see Kev Walsh like
Exactly.
arms up in the air.
He was very much my muse.
Same. In all walks of life. I mean, what a show this is. It's got everything, you know what I mean? Surprising Richard Hughes praise, Ryan Gravenberch songs. It was a lot more detailed than I was expecting. You've done a lot of work on that now.
It's taken me all season long. I'm not even kidding.
And you've been busy. So there we are. You're a young man, Jimmy. Why does Arne Slot not like people your age?
Ooh, I don't know. Probably the arrogance.
We're all pricks, to be honest with you.
Do you know what? I'm not too sure, to be honest, but I'd like to see what Slot brings in the summer. The rumours that we've got so far with the players that we're looking to bring in, they do look relatively young. I know we sent a lot out on loan, but I feel like it's hard with the squad he's being given, to adapt. And I feel like it's a little bit easier to adapt with experienced players than, players like Bicetic and, the younger players. Whereas if you've got a lot of older players, it's a lot easier to adapt and, win the league. But I feel like now he'll make a few more younger additions to the squad. Jeremy Frimpong to start. I think he'll be a great addition if we bring him in. There's rumours of Kirkes, Dean Huyson, Morgan Rogers. There's a lot, but they're all floating around the 23-year-old mark. So fingers crossed he has his stamp on the team this season.
There is a good group who are just in the age above it, though. It does have to be said. I'd like one or two younger players. I agree with the boys on that. It would be nice to see them sort of coming through. It would be great to get one or two more out of the academy, of course, as well. But if you look at the age group who are 24 to 26, so you've got McAllister, who's still only 26, Cody Gakpo's 26, Canarte's 25, Szoboszlai's 24, Jones is 24. I mean, that's a good gang there.
Still young, really, isn't it?
Who could do the sort of the next 5 or 6 years. There's Trent Alexander-Arnold as well, but we'll forget about him.
Have they not taken him off the list?
Oh, not transfer market haven't, which is what I'm on. And so... yeah, there's a good core there who you feel like the best years are ahead of them.
Yeah, and the biggest challenge is that when you've got players that good in that core, it's very, very difficult to be, the ages of 17 to 20 to 22 to break in, which is why Gravenberch has done so well. I mean, he's come from a very prestigious academy at Ajax, and the praise that was put on him was extremely high. It was pretty much... you are the best thing in the last sort of 15 to 20 years to come out of our academy. And he was just bumped up the age ranks very, very quickly. In terms of us, I feel like we've been very spoiled as a club to be able to see so many youth products come through. Last season, we won a trophy with children. And not everybody does that. That's incredible. And that was done not through Klopp just deciding to do that. It was kind of, his hand was forced. We had a lot of injuries and he had to plug a lot of holes. And I think that maybe that's one of the reasons that Slot hasn't used so many kids. He hasn't really had to bring anybody in to replace Van Dijk or Salah. Anybody that has brought in has been that slightly higher age bracket and has done very, very well because they're extremely, extremely talented footballers. I think that the likelihood is that we're still going to see players come through, but I just think that it's this thing that's very, very hard to break into the Premiership and perform at a very, very high level. If you're under the age of 22, it's just a fact. Unless you're extremely good at football, I'm not a huge fan of heaping loads and loads of praise on very young kids in the academy, but I'm going to do it now because I loved what I've seen of Rio and Gamoa. It was great to see him come on in the, I think it was the FA Cup that he came on.
Yeah, Atkinson. Yeah. He started actually, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah. And he looks like a very talented boy to the point where it looks like he's sort of outgrown our academy. He just looks like the best player there. And unless you're that good, it's just very, very difficult to see sort of the likes of teenagers come through, I think. But yeah, hopefully transfers are going to happen. It's going to be a busy summer. We're going to see a few younger players coming in, and I've no doubt that the guys in the suits are going to make the right decisions there.
Okay. We'll leave it there more or less for part one. I do want to give a quick shout out to Reilly, who are our partners for this one of Midweek Extras. Reilly is a new eSIM service app brought to you by the creators of NordVPN, of course, friends of the Anfield Wrap. You download it with an eSIM and to be installed only once, so users don't have to install a new eSIM for each country. It is affordable prices, and there is global and regional plans, so actually up to over 200 countries. I said 190. This time they got in touch and said it's over 200 now, and I was like, I didn't even know there were that many. So there we are. That was my note from last time. Forget about 190. We're over 200 now. It obviously saves you time and avoids any issues about doing it abroad. There's also fantastic privacy settings, as you'd expect from the people involved in NordVPN. So Saley's security features and browse more confidently. You can change your virtual location, block malicious ads, and stay safer with web protection. And it's just a great way of making sure that you're connected. You don't have to stress too much about public Wi-Fi spots. So if anything does happen to you abroad, you're able to get in touch with people quickly and easily. They also offer 24/7 support. There's a chat support available to make sure any problems that you have, you can speak to someone and you can get a full refund if your device isn't eSIM compatible. So if you are going away and you are looking to get an eSIM, we do encourage you to have a little look at Saley. It is really, really easy to use. You can download the app. I will show you that now on my phone. There we are. It's a lovely yellow Saley app. You go into the Explore plans. They have all the countries on there, so I will decide, where am I going to go? It feels like I'm going on holiday when I'm not. I'm going to go to Turkey. That's where I'm going to go, Kev. I'm going to press Turkey, and then it comes up with all the available plans. Paddy's going to show this to you on the YouTube now. We had a chat about this before. So you can say how many days you are going on for. Click on that. That looks good to me. I'm going to go for 30 days to Turkey. I wish. Imagine. on my own, kids of my own. And then when it says got a coupon, you can say yes because you have. And with the letters TAW, with the code TAW, you can get 15% off. And it's already pretty cheap, to be honest with you. So that is well worth doing. Huge thanks to Saley. Huge thanks to NordVPN, big supporters of the Anfield Wrap. And we appreciate them. And we appreciate Keith Salmon as well, who came in the other day to talk about his new book, There's Something That the Cop Wants You to Know. And here is me talking to Keith. It is John Gibbons. I'm delighted to be joined in the studio by the Sound Salmon, as they call him, Keith Salmon, Ian's brother, more better looking, more talented, all the hits.
Don't cut that out, by the way.
Oh no, that's it. No, we're going to clip it, but on social. No, you're here not just to skate your brother, but because you've written another book, Prolific. Not your first.
16 years later, Prolific.
Like Pink Floyd. No, it's the first one was about obviously your life being a vet and stuff like that. It's very good. If people haven't read it, I've got it at home. It's a great book. But you want to do another one, which is because life's changed since then. I think it is fair to say life's changed, you've changed, family's changed, and it's to reflect that, I guess.
Yeah, well, I'm 60 this year, so it's like it's the last book you're getting anyway. So you mean. Yeah, but like when the last one was out in 2009, my lad Charlie, he was only 3, so he's toddling around in his Liverpool kit and the launches, and that. Now he's coming with me on the journey, so he's had the journey, he's had the taste of it, and a lot's happened in between. Lost my dad, and we've had like the bit where do you feel you belong anymore to the football club, because you went through a phase where you didn't feel like you belonged anymore. The fandom wasn't the same, everyone was getting old and stuff like that. And I remember seeing you actually in Augsburg, and it was like, that was the bit where I went, actually I do belong here. And I don't even remember, we were in the back of a bar, we got locked in, and what we were doing Angels by Robbie Williams. I was like, I've never been so glad to get a train to Stuttgart at 4 o'clock in the morning of your life. Like, but under Jurgen Klopp, like, we've had such great times, like loads of experiences, and Charlie's been able to share them with me as well. So the view is with me and him following Jurgen. So the book's not about Jurgen, but none of it happens without him, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
He's the catalyst for all of it.
It's interesting you talk there about how our relationship with football does change, and I think when you're younger, you imagine I will always feel like this, but it does kind of change, doesn't it, really? There's some times when it's all you can think about. There's other times where you have got to drag yourself there a little bit, and that can seem ungrateful for people who don't get to go, but that's the realistic thing. And then there's other things that happen in your life, and I'm a dad now. We were just sort of talking about that, and I'm already thinking about seeing football through his eyes and how nice that is. And it isn't all the same. Do you know what I mean? Like we do a show with Adam Smith, what football means to me, and quite often it comes up in that the people have their relationship with the club and with football generally does change over time as we change and grow.
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that you do as you get older and the kids grow up, your match day experience changes exponentially. It's just like not the same anymore. Like you got this little fella going, can we go? And you go, hold on, I'm having a pint with the lads. And, this is important. And for a while, they don't really get that. And it was like when Charlie was about 12, we take him to Madrid and we tell about the story there. 3 weeks before COVID, he's like living his best life, going to Madrid, Atletico Madrid with his dad and his dad's mates, and he's hoovering up tapas all the way around Madrid. He's going, this is the best life in the world. 2 years earlier, he was like going, can we go? Can we get in? Can we get in and just see the people on the pitch? And then he sort of clocked, he goes, oh, this is what it's all about. And I had that with my dad, and I never realised that how I changed his experience, because I think 82 and 83, he was taking me to Wembley on special trains, and the only special thing about them was they got you there and back and sort of safely, it wasn't the best thing. You realise what he gave up, because you give that up. But now he comes to pub with me because he's 18. So all of a sudden he's gone the full length. And we did Toulouse last year, and you got a free baguette and a pint. And that's a highlight of his life. But like, he was one of the lads, and I could see him on the other side of the table. We met all these old boys, and they'd all been to places like Vladikavkaz Castaway and all this sort of stuff. And he's holding court with people, and I go, my job's done. You can go wherever you want, son. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like passing the baton on, and that's what the book's about. My dad gave it to me, and then I've given it to him. And it's a bit different, but actually, when you're there, and last week against Tottenham, like the people I sit with are all like 30 years been sitting with them. The amount of love in the room was unbelievable. And these people kept gravitating towards you who were in the book. It was like they were meant to be, do you know what I mean? And like, it's the people that make it. If people are, hopefully, if you buy the book, it's not about the 90 minutes. You find out what the score is, but not much more than that. It's about how you get there and who you meet on the way and adventures and things like that, and what it means to people.
And adventures was what it was all about on the Jürgen, and he almost taught us how to go on adventures again, and the joy of the adventure. Yeah. I thought that's what Jürgen was all about. He was about the joy of the adventure.
Yeah. I think if you look at Augsburg, was probably the worst 90 minutes you've ever seen in your life, and probably one of the coldest 90 minutes you've ever seen in your life. But actually, as a trip, you go, that's amazing.
Yeah, a place you never go to.
Oh, this has been football. I was talking to this guy before, and he's going, Liverpudlians travelled in Europe only because of the football in the 70s. And that's what I learned off my dad. I grew up on like stories of Rome and Bruges and all these places. And they never went to Spain on holiday, my mum and dad. He went for football. My mum never went. He went like, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, you're going to these places, and you go, there's places you go where you would never go if it wasn't for Kiev, which I would rate as my favourite Champions League or European Cup trip of all time. Kiev was amazing. Where you hear a lot of people going, I was devastated in Kiev. I wasn't. I thought it was like a step on the journey with Jürgen.
Yeah.
I know he sang the song in the morning, they were going to win it again, and he did. But you felt that after I think in 2016 in Seville, you sort of felt this is a bit different. It was really disappointing, but Kiev felt totally different. He was further down the journey. They'd been amazing. And it was like just one little step, and you thought he's going to get us there. And it was superb, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's given us all that.
And he has, and he taught us to dream again, and Slot sort of carried it on.
Yeah, he's done a fab job.
And like you say, that the people who you meet along the way is what football is all about. I remember, I was 40 recently, a few years ago now, but.
So you're 60, you mean?
I'm thankfully nearer 40 than 60, but no, I was 40 a few years ago, and I remember looking around in my 40th and going, everyone here I know through football, really. Obviously, everyone from works through the match and stuff like that, but all my mates are from the match and stuff like that. And I think in my 20s, I was a bit more mixed. I was like, I'd have like music and stuff like that, and there'd be people who was in bands with or whatever. But I'm like now looking around and going like everyone's
all the football,
and I wouldn't change it because they're like your best friends, and you had all these adventures with and stuff like that. And I just thought, isn't that a thing to be able to look around and go, the thing that bonds us all together is
and actually most of the time I only see them at the match as well, so when I come home I see my mates, you know what I mean? Or if you're on, like I've got a mate who Mongoose, No one knows what his proper name is, like, do you know what I mean? But where you see him is he's waiting for you at the train station, going, "Come on, where are you?" Like, do you know what I mean? I'm ready. He's got the hotel sorted, and then we're ready to hit the beer halls in Munich or wherever. And you go, and they're really good lads. They're great, you know. And it was like so nice to share that moment the other week with them as well, because we didn't get to share the COVID title, did we? You know, and I think we talk about that in the book. We were locked on the Isle of Man. And he didn't feel anything, you know, like even Sky went off after like 10 minutes as well. You didn't even get the hour documentary. We're sitting there going like that and thunder and lightning. But you get to share it with all these lovely people. And the people I know are through the football. Because my lad goes, how do you know him? And how do you know him? So through the football.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Through the match. What's his name, Ian? What's his second name? Don't know. Yeah. There we go. There's something that the cop wants you to know then. Dad and lad and Jürgen Klopp following Liverpool FC's return to glory. It's out probably now when people watch this. We're not quite sure when this is going out now, but it should be out.
It's out on the 19th of May, yeah. So there's a book launch in Liverpool on the 22nd. And then from then onwards, just keep buying it. Yeah.
Buy it once, buy it again, and buy it again.
It's coming to the summer holidays.
To get it?
Well, all good bookshops, Waterstones, Amazon. It's on them all, really. And they post it free as well, I'll charge you.
There you are, go for that.
Yeah.
Keith, thanks for coming in. Really looking forward to getting it. It's only arrived today. Do forgive me for not being here.
It's the first copy. I hadn't even seen it before you were. You got it before me.
That's how special I am. First ever copy. I'll keep all of this. I'll enjoy. Keith, top man.
All right, cheers. Thanks, John.
Thanks a lot to Keith for coming in. Thanks again to Reilly for partnering with us. I should have mentioned before as well, if you'd rather do it from the website, it's reilly.com/TAW, which will take you sort of straight there. There was the QR code flashed up on the YouTube version, and all the details are also in the episode description box. I'm getting used to this, a new partner. I'll be nailing it in a few weeks. But yeah, nice one to Reilly, and it is a really exceptional service. On with the awards. We've got two more and then a bit of a chat. I'll start with you. You get to go first this time, Kev. Your moment of the season.
I've went outside the box again because the season's been so phenomenal and there's so many moments.
Have you really liked being around?
Yeah.
Because you haven't always lived here.
No.
You've flirted in and out of Liverpool, that is fair to say. So has it been really fun to be here when we've won the league?
It's been phenomenal because there's a certain level of intensity that your brain just can't imagine. So when you're experiencing it, it's absolutely unbelievable. I didn't get a ticket to Tottenham. It was like gold dust. So I went up to the ground, obviously, just to take it in. And I went up on my own. My mates weren't interested in coming up because they're not as big a red as me. So I went up and I just took it all in, and it was just unbelievable. I can't quite describe it. I got to a point where I was like, I'm going to stop taking photos and videos because there'll be loads of those, and I'm just going to take it in and soak it in. And it was incredible watching the match in the pub that I always go to after I go to the match. You couldn't move. It was incredible. And then outside of that, I did end up meeting some friends and going for a few drinks afterwards. And it was something that I can't quite describe and couldn't quite imagine in the first place. But soaking that up throughout this season has been a journey, and that's why it was really difficult to sort of pinpoint one moment. So I have sort of tried to think outside the box again. So I'm going really, really early. And I think it was November, and it was Villa at home, and Arsenal had played Chelsea and dropped points. And City were still in the mix and had just lost to Brighton just before we played. I think they were the early kickoff that Saturday or Sunday possibly. And I went to this pub again to watch it. No, that might have been another game. But anyway, I was on the concourse in the Cop, and it came in that Brighton had just beaten City, and it was like a real buzz, a real excitement. And I think at that point we'd just gone sort of 5 points clear, and that was for me the time that I was like, we could do this here. Like I had a lot of belief in what I was seeing on the pitch. We weren't struggling with too many injuries at that point, I don't think. And Villa at that time, and still are, a bit of a scary prospect. I really like their manager. I think he's extremely talented. I really like their squad, which they've strengthened in January, which is quite rare to do. And to go there and beat them 2-0, the way that we did was really, really impressive. I remember the first goal was Darwin Nunez. Salah, I don't know if you remember, it's a Villa corner, and Salah basically races up the pitch on the counter, gets fouled, and it's a pen. But the ref goes, nah, I'm not going to bother with that. And then it goes to Nunez and he takes it wide. And you know when he takes it wide and you go, oh, lad, what are you doing?
Don't go over there.
And it was an even worse angle than he's had before when he's missed it, or I think he's hit the post last season doing this. And I was in the Kop just thinking, oh, this is gone. And I remember my hands were up here and it went in, and it was just such a phenomenal goal. It was such a great finish from him. And I thought, yeah, we might do this here. And similarly, the second goal was amazing. Another counter-attack. But huge shout out to Queeve, who was incredible in goal that day, because Alisson was injured, and Queeve pulled off a few incredible saves. I think one was from Anana from a corner. It was just a brilliant day, and it's the first time that I've been in the ground in a long time. Top of the league, 5 points clear, thinking there's a bit of momentum here. You know, these are all struggling and we don't really seem to be. And that for me was a really memorable day. Obviously, if I had to choose, it would be when we won the league at Spurs. But thinking outside the box, that was the first, a fire being lit sort of thing.
Schroeder, how about you, man?
I think all of us are probably going to have to acknowledge the fact that Spurs is Spurs, and that was an incredible thing. The thing that I personally enjoyed the most about it is that so much this season I've been going to games, doing the press thing, going to the press conferences, writing my article, and then thinking, right, I've done all my bit, I'll go to the pub now, and then getting to the outside of Anfield and being like, I'm drained, I'm knackered, I'm going home, and going home. That day, I was like, no, I am going to the fucking pub. And I did, and I saw most of you, and it was just everything that I'd wanted it to be. So, yes, that will sit on the shelf as the number one answer. But, guys, if you heard of a guy called Kylian Mbappe, he's pretty good at football.
Yeah.
When he's not on his arse.
And there was a moment in the game that when we played them where I thought he was about to prove how good he is at football, and he was running in towards our goal. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, comes this wiry little Northern Irish fella who completely scoops him up in the air. And it's the sound, honestly, that's the loudest sound inside Anfield I heard all season. That moment, the cheer for that tackle, not a goal, not a win, not a title, a tackle. That was the loudest moment whole season long. I mean, obviously, he's come into folklore now, but it was the timing of it, because it was at a time when we were 1-0 and it was still a little bit of a tight 1-0. It was the fact that it was the youngest kid on our team doing it against this potential Ballon d'Or winner. And it was the fact that he did it so perfectly. It wasn't just the fact that he kicks him up in the air, but he also won the ball clean. It was like the tackle of your dreams. And it is rightly now in folklore forever. It's like he's going to be talking about that tackle when he's 50. And I just can't think of anything better. Although, shout out to you, Co. I did really enjoy that Saturday night at Villa as well. That was a great one. But yeah, it's got to be Connor.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Great answer. Some tackle, some man. And like you say, no matter what he does, he'll always remember that.
Some T-shirt.
Yeah. Andy says it was his idea.
Oh, was it? Yeah, really good.
Simple to keep. I think there we are. Sold a lot. Yeah, did well. Jimmy,
there's a few floating around in the head. The Bradley one was definitely one. And then that period in November, heading into Christmas, where we absolutely battered everybody. From Bayer Leverkusen to Real Madrid to Man City to Brighton. It was just like, it was so surreal, because the media was so negative towards Liverpool. It was like, can they get past this? Can they get past this?
There was graphics of how hard the games were. You can tell when there's a graphic. It's a big deal.
And we
look at Liverpool's November.
It was ridiculous. We kicked arse. But again, like Kevin Mo both said, that Tottenham game was surreal. Like, spending that day with, the people I've gone the match with the last 7 or 8 seasons, being there with my dad and looking at each other at full time when we're singing You'll Never Walk Alone, and we're both just crying our eyes out. Like, it was so surreal. The emotions were I felt everything that day. And then after the game, outside the ground with flares in our hands, singing our head off, and then we end up in Pot World. And so I'm not bad, so fuck you, Trent. I can go to Pot World, you can't. But it was an amazing day. Like, I remember that for the rest of my life, because the raw emotion of that whistle of when we won the league, it was like, we've fucking done it. We've done it. Oh my God, we've finally done it. Like, I was there when we played Wolves both times, when City played Brighton and Villa. And I remember the Brighton one especially, because we went up and they went down.
Yeah,
and I was
so
like,
we were actually winning.
Yeah, we were winning the league.
One of the weird things about the Villa one, was at no point were we actually winning.
No. But that Brighton one, for probably 30 seconds, wasn't it? We were winning the league. Glenn Murray scored, Mane had scored, and I was like, we're gonna win the league. Oh my God, it's gonna happen. And then they absolutely tear Brighton a new arsehole. And then it goes to the other Wolves game against Villa. Like, Salah thought he wins us the league and goes nuts, and then there's fans telling them that we've not won it. But with Tottenham, all we needed was a point, and we absolutely smashed them. And the emotion of that game was amazing. I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
Crucial question: was your dad in Pop World?
Oh yeah, right. A funny story actually. Before the game, my dad's missus dropped us off, and the baby was in the car, and Emma said to me, Dad, oh, what time will be home? Let me know. And I went, he's going to Pot World, you won't see him. And he went, all right, I'll keep the door unlocked for you then. Make sure you get in the spare room. And he did exactly that. Absolutely. What a day.
What a day. Hey, what a memory. Singing together, Pop World in together. You never walk alone and Spice Up Your Life. The two big songs. We
were just missing the Gravenberch song from Mo.
Well, you won't next season, that's for sure.
Yeah, great answers. Great answers. Okay, the next one is disappointment of the season, and you can read into that or take that however you want. We will start. Let's go Mo first on this one.
I'm almost tempted to say not coming out with that song earlier. But no, for me, it has to be the League Cup final.
Yeah, definitely.
I think that's the one day we really let ourselves down. And you can kind of make an argument to say that maybe Slot got it wrong, the players themselves didn't do their best. But I don't think Newcastle did anything surprising. They played to their absolute maximum, as you would have expected they would do. I've got all of that history behind them. And I think some people were thinking, oh, well, they're going to be nervous, what have you. I think the fact that they had the final 2 years before and a lot of the same group were there probably helped them. So it's like they got the kind of the nerves of the day out of it. Then they could just go out there and play football. We still had the hangover for what happened against PSG a few days beforehand. But it was just everything about that game. So I was annoyed that I didn't get the chance to go to the game. Hello, if you're listening, TalkSport International. And then on top of that, I was the day before I was flying to America to do my whole fancy tour thing. So I was really hoping that we were going to go and win a trophy, and then I was going to be able to go, how great are Liverpool?
Yeah, big party.
So that loss hit twice. And then, again, a slightly personal thing. So I was watching the game with my sister in London because we were flying out of Heathrow. And my dad said, well, I might as well come up from Kent to see you. And so I was like, okay, well, we're watching the game. So come, the game kicks off at 4:30, come over there. So it's about a 45-minute journey from my dad's house to my sister's house. And I told him the time of the kickoff. I expected him to be there before kickoff. And they arrived just when Newcastle made it 2-0. And I hadn't seen my dad in about 6 to 7 months. And so I was then having to pretend to be all like, oh, hi, how are you doing? Nice to see you, blah, 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 blah. When in reality, I was just like, fuck off. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to anybody. Because, my dad, bless him, he's very much like, he loves football. He loves the art of football. He's not quite as emotional about the fandom side of it.
Yeah.
So he's not the kind of person who gets really moody when his team's getting beat. I mean, he's a Spurs fan. It happens too often. So I had to kind of pretend like I wasn't feeling like I was feeling, which made it even worse. And then as soon as the final whistle went, my sister turned on Colombo. And I fucking hate Colombo.
This sounds dreadful. No wonder it's the biggest disappointment of the season, honestly.
And like all of this is because Liverpool lost. Like the Liverpool losing that game and laying that egg was the catalyst for that whole evening of shit.
Oh yeah.
Sorry, that's it. I've got it out of my system now.
Fair play. Sounds absolutely awful all around. Jimmy, your disappointments of the season?
Performance-wise, you've got to touch on that Newcastle game, but I had one of the best days of my life coming home on that bus, so I'm not even going to touch on that. But I'm going to go with two players. Actually, I'm going to say Elliott and Nunes. I'm going to say the lack of game time for Elliott and the performances of Nunes, because coming into the season, we had this, this idea of who's he going to play, who's going to play well, sort of thing. And especially because Nunes has had a few great performances this season. Look at that Real Madrid game. It's very unspoken about how well he played that game, by the way. But you look at the latter end of the season, and he's just been so poor. And it's now got to the point where Liverpool fans are just like, get rid of him. He's rubbish. Let's just get rid of him. He's crap. And now touching on to Elliott, I feel like Slot's used him less than he should have, because there's games where we've needed to break a low block, and I feel like he's probably the only person who can do that at the minute. He's got a wand of a left foot, and he's the only person who can get the ball, drive with it, and then just put the ball wherever he wants in that box and create something. And there's been games this season where Szoboszlai stayed on the pitch, and I hated Szoboszlai at the beginning of the season, but I've kind of come to terms with what he is and what he brings to us as a team. And when we play these teams where, it's a very high-paced game, he's perfect because his energy is amazing. But when you play these games where we're facing a low block, I think it's pointless him even being in the squad, because he doesn't really bring nothing against the low block, because he's just running like a headless chicken. Whereas Elliott will get the ball, he'll receive it off Gravenberch or whoever he gets it off, and he'll create something like all the time. Like when you look at the games he's come on, he's had snippets of 5 minutes. He'll play 2 or 3 balls into the box, but no one gets on the ends of it because it's Nunes attacking it. So you're like, if only he was on 10 minutes before and Gakpo was still on the pitch, then it could have created something. But I feel like the lack of Elliott playing this season really disappointed me, because coming into the season, I was very looking forward to seeing how Slot used him.
Yeah, good answers, different answers. What are you going for, Kev? Disappointments of the season?
Yeah, obviously the League Cup's right up there. But similarly, I was at the game, so I had the experience of enjoying up until the kickoff, pretty much, of the whole day and the night.
You should have been on Jimmy's bus back. I don't think anyone was watching Colombo by the sounds of it.
He was not watching Colombo, put it that way. Rick Astley was on, that's all that needed to know.
Epic. But I thought, I was thinking about other games that we've had that were really disappointing, and it's obviously Plymouth, but for very different reasons than anything else. I think that's probably the one that the squad would look at and go, yeah, that just wasn't good enough. And then when you put it in the perspective of what he'd done was rest the first 11 to give a lot of people a chance to essentially play their way into the team, and they really didn't. I don't think they gave themselves much credit. I think they were really, really poor that day, and I'm not sure if they went into it with the mindset of, well, it's just Plymouth and we're going to be okay. I'm not too sure what had happened, but I feel like our squad has better mentality than that. I feel like Slot has instilled a mentality that doesn't say it's Plymouth, so I'm not really arsed. The performance levels were way off it. And funnily enough, I was working a job for the FA. I was doing something for the final ball, so I was looking through both City and Palace's games, and obviously City got Plymouth as well, didn't they? And they couldn't score for a really long time, City. They could not break them down. I think they went 1-0 down as well, didn't they? City against Plymouth. So it just shows that no matter the opposition that you're playing, they are going to have some quality. And when you're a team like Liverpool, everybody wants to beat you. The old cliches. That day was really disappointing, because I was hoping for a bit of a cup run in the FA Cup. I mean, if we can get to Wembley as much as possible, that'd be amazing. But yeah, Plymouth for me was a big downer.
Yeah, I think the real shame about the Plymouth game as well was, I mean, you never want to go out of a competition, really. I take the point on, it wasn't the worst season to go out of the FA Cup early, because they were still going in the League Cup. I don't know if they were quite in the final by that point, but close to it, and obviously still in the Champions League as well. And at that point, we had big Champions League aspirations. So it wasn't sort of going out; it was the manner how we did, and also I think for the players that were involved, for a few of them, it really sort of knocked them back. I think he lost a lot of faith in Chiesa. He didn't have loads, but he lost a lot of faith in him. It's interesting that Diaz and Jota both sort of start that game and seemingly sort of got away with it, but I guess they had a little bit more in the bank. Nioni starts that. We don't see him again. Elliott starts it. I think Elliott and Chiesa were the two who were most affected, but Nioni, we don't see him again. And he very much, is sort of from the bench from there, and Quansah.
Was it Quansah's last game at centre back before he was moved to right back as well?
I think so, yeah. And then McConnell starts right back, but obviously that was always a bit of a sort of a strange one, really, for him. And it just, I think for me, it was not so much going out the FA Cup, but what it sort of meant for those players, and it, he's talked about it since, hasn't he? And not singled out individuals, but it's, he's talked about it sort of not being acceptable, and it's not hard to look into too much that some of those Liverpool players, like it was more or less, you're done now for me this year, really, in any sort of meaningful way. And so it's more of a shame for them. I mentioned the Champions League there. I think that's my biggest disappointment of the season. Not so much going out to PSG because they're a really good team, and not so much the performances, because I thought, we did okay. Obviously, they didn't play that well away, but they won, so you can't moan too much. And at home, I thought he made a good account of themselves. I just feel like this team deserves to go a little bit deeper in the Champions League. And
do you think that's because we came top in the league phase as well, and we just blew everyone away in that phase?
Yeah. So because we looked so good in the Champions League, and we'd done so well, and it was coming top, and then it felt. I wasn't going as mad as some people on the draw, because I think like a draw's a draw, at the end of the day, really. But it did feel like a little bit like, and even more so now that the PSG are obviously in the final, and you just sort of think, well, yeah, we were sort of unlucky there. What was really interesting was, for all the talk of this new system and how like it's not worked, and from a Liverpool fans, the semi-finals was the three of the top four and PSG, which is dead interesting. So like it has worked. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah. You just end up you've just got this anomaly, which was PSG, who are anomaly because A, their group stage fixtures were rock hard, and B, they've emerged as a team, and so the team that they were in September and October, where they were dropping points, weren't the team that they were later. And so actually, like, taking your Liverpool glasses off, the new systems actually, I think, worked really well, because the top teams sort of have been rewarded and have got there, and it's just the PSG thing, which probably won't happen in the same extent to the same. It's unlikely to. I can't think of that the team who would do a sort of similar thing next year. It might happen. Maybe someone like Man City or whatever who make signings in the summer take a while to gel. I don't know, but I think we were unlucky. So I'm not disappointed in as much as disappointed in Liverpool. Just the sort of the situation, and you feel like this team deserved. To go deeper, even if we just got to a semi-final. Do you know what I mean? And we still would have won the league. We wouldn't have sort of dented that. I don't think maybe if the League Cup final could have been different. Sort of, who knows? Because I think those ties physically and mentally took a lot out of the team. And then, so if we'd have played, for example, PSV, who Arsenal got, they would have been a lot fresher in the League Cup final. That's not to say they'd have won the game. Newcastle played really well, so I'm not trying to take anything away. But I think there was lots of knock-on effects, and also from a point of view of. I'm not too bothered about the Ballon d'Or thing, but I think Mo Salah would disagree. I think he is bothered about it, and I think he's still got a really good chance of winning it just because of what else has happened in the Champions League. Like, I don't think, for me, it doesn't. I don't think you know more about European football than me, but you'd be surprised if an Inter player won it, for example.
Yeah, they're more of a collective.
Yeah,
I think.
Exactly. And so I think with the way it's worked, and the way with other big star names sort of dropping out earlier, I don't think it's the Champions League thing's too damaging to Mo, but I think it would have really helped him if he'd have. Posted a really good goals total in the Champions League, and would have gone a lot further for Liverpool. So for him personally,
I think, to be honest, we kind of forget the fact that the Ballon d'Or is run by France Football Magazine. So, number one, Mo Salah playing poorly against PSG is not going to help him.
No.
Number two, like, if PSG win it, and Ousmane Dembele.
It's going to be a big campaign.
It's going to be a massive campaign for him. So,
What do the French know? They didn't even give Alisson a 10.
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, harsh mark. But also looking at that Champions League table, like PSG finished on 13 points. So do 4 other teams. So they're only in the position they're in because of goal difference.
Yeah.
And it's 1 goal. So someone else scoring 1 more goal out of Benfica and Monaco, Brest, the final would have made a massive difference. And it's like, I think you can be disappointed. I think you can feel hard done by. But it's the luck of the draw, isn't it? Like there'll be times when in the old system where you get a really horrible draw, and you just think, well, we were better than that. Just like if we'd have been playing this team later on, then we would have been more justified. But yeah, I mean, we're going to come on to what we hope for next season.
Well, let's do that now. Right. Smooth segue, smoother than you're rapping. Go on.
So I'm going deep in Europe is the one for me, and I think the real kind of way that happens is to have a squad that is more trusted. I think deeper. Like Slot feels like he can use more players than he has. Like we've all really enjoyed the fact that there's so many good players who've played fantastic seasons. But I'd quite like there to have been more. If you think about it, I'd quite like to be sitting here saying, well, we've got actually 18, 19, 20 players who've had a good season rather than 12, 13, 14. And I think that's the difference between competing well in both competitions. Because you can have a poor draw and you can sometimes think, well, maybe if we'd have been able to remove our resources around a little bit better, then maybe we could have found some people who would have been a bit fresher. Maybe Slot wouldn't have felt like he had to play the same team against Southampton, PSG, and then Newcastle, and then maybe things are a little bit different. Those are my hopes. That some of the things that we've just been talking about in terms of disappointments, we can learn from and adapt and not have to have the same conversation in 12 months' time.
Kev, what's your view? Hope for next year?
I think probably just you with your kecks on your head at the end of the next season would be the best one for me. No, it's very similar to Mo. I think that Slot's done a really good job of managing the injuries this season, but I think he can do even better. We've heard so much about his methods, his methodology, his coaching staff, and them looking after the fitness of the players. And I think he's done an incredible job of that this season. I think last season it was 22 players injured over the course of the season, sort of 333 games missed, something crazy like that. And this season, I think it's halved. So I think it's maybe 12, 13, something like that. 170 odd days missed through injuries. So there is an improvement there. And then you've got to discard the sort of outliers that Jota got crushed by a Grock against Chelsea. Kanate got crushed by a Grock against Real Madrid. There's a lot of sort of impact injuries there. We lose Trent at PSG through a twisted ankle, which I don't really count as, it's not like he's going into the red or anything like that. So I'm interested to see what happens next season with what Mo's said in terms of developing a bigger squad through transfers and bringing more players in to allow us to rotate more, but also really dialing into that fitness aspect and making sure that we can stay fit, because next season's all about progression and building. Arsenal going to be right up there next season. City are probably going to be, thereabouts next season again as well. And for me, it's to have the best chance of winning trophies, going deep in Europe and winning the league is just having more players available who are quality. And I know that the squad's got quality. It's just about keeping everyone fit. And whether that's done through making sales of players who have had poorer injury records throughout the seasons for us, or whether that's through developing a proper pre-season where we have a full squad for pre-season who aren't away on international tournaments. And I think that feeds into what's happening now. We can see that the players, make no mistake about it, this is being treated as a pre-season. The mentality of the players is being saved because they've all been sent on holiday and to have a party. And I've seen Dom Szoboszlai sitting in a pool with a massive fishbowl of probably booze. And that aspect of it is really, really important as well, because there's so many games that they've got to cover. to be able to prolong the summer for them, I think, is a huge aspect. And I think that there's a massive benefit to that. I'm really, really happy that the manager has given the players this time off, and it's not just run the legs off them. And of course, we always want to win games of football as Liverpool Football Club. But when he's doing what he's doing because he's looking at next season already, I think that's a huge positive. But yeah, for me, it's doubling down on the injuries and really, really making sure that none of these muscle injuries are happening. We're seeing some things develop in that regard with Alisson not taking goal kicks, for example, anymore. That's been huge. Since that change has happened, Alisson has stayed. I'm hoping that we see a lot more of Alisson next season than we do of Mamardashvili, is it?
Yeah.
Just because of his quality. I've absolutely butchered his name there, sorry. But
He's
yeah.
not even here yet.
He's not here yet.
When he bothers to turn up, we'll bother to learn his name.
But yeah, that's it for me. It's making sure that I'm not talking full, perfect injury records. I'm just talking little muscle injuries that keep players out for sort of 3 to 5 games. If we can really dial into that would be amazing for me.
Jimmy?
I just want to better this season. I mean, I know you can't really talk within the Premier League, but I feel like we rate success as trophies, us as a club. When I look at it, a really successful season, you want to win one of the big ones, the Premier League or the Champions League, and then make a good account of yourself in the other one if you don't win it, and then same with your domestic competition. So next season, I'm hoping we go and win the Premier League again or the Champions League, and then we make a good account for ourselves in the other one, and then we win one of the other ones, ideally both. All 4, but it's not always perfect, is it? But again, like Kev said, I feel I'd like to see us pass on the baton a little bit with the younger people we bring in, pass them on the experience, because Van Dijk, Salah, Alisson, Robertson, they're not going to last forever. So we now need to start seeing, the cracks of the other players, who's going to become that in years to come.
There we are. I love that show. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it good? Well done, everyone. Thanks a lot to all my guests, for Andy and Paddy for producing, for Kev for coming in, for Jimmy, to Mo, Keith Salmon for coming in to talk about his book a couple of days ago. Do have a look at that. Do check that out if you're looking for summer reading. Obviously, if you are going away, do check out the Saley eSIMS, should I say, and up to Reds. Brighton on Monday if they turn up.